I'm Kelly, 26 years old. Recently, my dad, Patrick, was hospitalized. He owns a small business, and the doctor said he only has 7 months to live. My dad has always been there for me, so I stay by his bedside as much as I can. One day, my sister Janet walked into the hospital room. "Kelly, listen to me," she said in a bossy voice. "I'm going to inherit all of Dad's $10 million. I was shocked. Why was she talking about money at a time like this? I couldn't believe it. "Shut up, you uneducated fool," she sneered. She wasn't the sister I once knew. She had bullied me since we were kids. Then, she walked away, laughing loudly. I was so angry I could barely breathe. "Kelly, listen to me," my father said softly. "I can't leave the inheritance to you." "What? Are you telling me to just accept this?" I was stunned. "Just listen," he said, and began to explain. Looking back, I barely remember getting along with Janet as a child. Our mother always favored her, making sure she got the best of everything. In school, Janet was the priority and I was left behind. She and her friends bullied me all the time, sometimes even hurting me. But whenever I told my mother, she refused to believe me. "Janet would never do such a thing," she'd say. Even when I begged her to listen, she scolded me instead. The worst part was that I had to go to school with Janet. I don't know what she told people, but because of her, older students picked on me too. School became a nightmare. I liked studying, but going to school was really hard. Janet and her friends bullied me, and the teachers treated me like a troublemaker. Whenever my mother was called to school, she would scold me harshly when I got home. Those days felt like a nightmare. I couldn't trust anyone, and I had no one to turn to. I started to hate everyone, my mother, my sister, her friends, and even the teachers. But there was one person I could rely on, my father. He owned a small factory. Even though it wasn't a big company, it grew every year because of his hard work and smart ideas. He was my only ally. At home, I always stayed close to him. When he was around, my mother and sister didn't dare to bother me. Being with him was the only time I felt safe. He seemed to understand this, and he always comforted me when I cried. If Janet misbehaved, he would firmly scold her. When I was in high school, my father spoke to me. "Kelly, I'll be busier from now on and won't always be around. No matter what Janet does, don't give up. Study hard and become strong," he said. "Yes, I'll do my best," I replied. I knew that the only way to change my life was to keep studying. Asking for help never worked because somehow Janet always got praised instead. So I decided to succeed on my own. My mother paid for my tuition, so I was able to attend cram school. I studied as hard as I could, determined not to lose to my sister. My efforts started to pay off. I passed the entrance exams for a top university, achieving a higher level of education than Janet, who went to a low-ranked university that only rich people attended. However, my sister spread lies about me. She told my friends and neighbors. Kelly admitted that she only passed her exams by cheating. It's embarrassing to have a sister who doesn't work hard and just buys her way in with money. Because of this, my friends distanced themselves from me, and the local women started giving me cold looks. But I didn't let it bring me down. I kept studying hard and ignored Janet's harassment. I stayed patient and never gave up. In the end, I achieved my dream. I became a lawyer. Even then, my mother sided with Janet and made cruel comments. "You must have cheated. Can you really be a lawyer? There's no way you could do it," she said coldly. But by then, I had grown stronger. I stopped caring about their words and focused on my own success. That became one of my strengths, not letting baseless rumors affect me. Janet only had social status, but she had no real skills. We were completely different. My father, on the other hand, was proud of me. "You've done so well. Truly admirable, just as I expected from my daughter. You can become even stronger." "I'm proud of you," he said. Then Janet appeared. "You probably can't do it, right? Can you really handle being a lawyer? Since you got your qualification by cheating, you should quit before you cause trouble for others," she sneered. Hearing this, my father firmly scolded her. "You're the one who just plays around, gives up easily, and only thinks about eating. You're completely useless. Try to learn something from Kelly. That moment changed everything. My father and Janet's relationship became even worse. Looking back, I think that was a turning point. I was able to stay on the right path because of my father's support. As a lawyer, I slowly built up my achievements, one step at a time. I wanted to share my work with my father, but I didn't like visiting my parents' home because Janet was always there. She struggled to keep a job, jumping from one short-term or part-time position to another. But my mother never scolded her. Instead, she spoiled Janet, saying, "You don't have to work hard. You'll take over after your father." Even though I wanted to visit my parents, I felt unwelcome in my own home. I was worried about how the neighbors saw me. They still believed the lies Janet spread about me and treated me coldly. Because of this, I avoided my parents' house. When I wanted to see my father, I would call him, and we would go out to eat, just the two of us. I only visited my parents' house when necessary. But whenever I had time, I made sure to talk to my father on the phone or meet him for a meal. One day, when work was going well, I sent an email to my father like I always did. But this time, he didn't reply. Days passed, and I still didn't hear from him. Maybe he's just busy with work, I thought. But usually he would respond within a few days. Something felt wrong. Then, out of nowhere, my mother called me. She rarely contacted me, so I was surprised. "Your father has been hospitalized," she said. "What?" I gasped in shock. I quickly adjusted my work schedule and rushed to the hospital near my parents' house. When I arrived, I found my mother crying. I asked her where my father was, but she just kept crying and wouldn't tell me anything. Frustrated, I called one of my father's employees and got his room number. Even in an emergency, my mother refused to help me, which made me angry. I took a deep breath and knocked on the hospital room door. "Dad, it's Kelly. Can I come in?" I asked softly. I slowly entered the room. My father was lying in bed, looking weak and thin. No one else was there. "Your mother just left," he said. "You came at the right time." "Dad, what happened?" I was shocked to see him in such a fragile state. "Who told you my room number?" he asked. "I got it from someone at your company," I replied. "I see," he said with a weak smile. "Don't worry, I'll be fine. I'll be back to work soon." He coughed as he spoke. But looking at him, I knew he wasn't coming back to work anytime soon. As I was about to leave, a doctor approached me. "Are you his daughter?" he asked. "Yes, I am," I replied. The doctor took me to another room and explained my father's condition. "We found cancer. He has about 7 months to live," the doctor said. I stood there, speechless. After leaving the hospital, I rearranged my schedule to visit my father as often as possible. Day by day, he lost more weight, and his already thin body became even weaker. It was clear just by looking at him that he wasn't getting better. One day, when I went to see him, my sister Janet arrived at the same time. I unexpectedly ran into Janet. "Why is the low-educated Kelly here?" she sneered. I wanted to shout back, "Who's the low-educated one here?" But I held it in. The thought of Janet living at our parents' house, doing nothing but playing around, made my anger rise. I struggled to stay calm. My father, weak in bed, groaned. "Stop it, Janet," he said. "Why are you here? I'm in this condition, and I have no money left to give you." Did she really come here, just for money? Even when Dad is like this. That's horrible. I screamed in my head. I had so much to say, but Janet spoke first. "Listen carefully, Kelly," she said in a bossy tone. "I'm going to inherit all of Dad's $10 million, and I won't give you a single dollar. You should also give up your inheritance. I'll take over Dad's company, so don't worry." I was so shocked that I couldn't speak. She was talking about money while our father was sick, without any concern for his health. Then she walked out of the room, laughing. Janet, who does nothing but waste time, says she'll take over the company? What a joke. She's really the worst. I tried to keep my anger in check. Then my father spoke quietly. "Listen carefully, Kelly. I can't leave the inheritance to you." "What do you mean? Are you telling me to just accept this?" I was stunned. "It's okay," he said, as if trying to calm me down. Could it really be that my father has no intention of leaving me anything? I told myself that money isn't everything, but it still hurt. Just listen, my father said. Then he explained the real situation with the company. After hearing everything, I was speechless. Listen, he said firmly. No matter what happens, don't even think about trying to inherit the estate. It was getting late. You should go home now. You have work tomorrow, right? He added. Following his words, I returned to my apartment. The next morning, I got so busy with work that I didn't even have time to send my father an email. Then his conditions suddenly got worse. Even though the doctor said he had 7 months left, he passed away 3 months earlier. At the family meeting during the funeral, I followed my father's wishes and agreed to let Janet inherit everything. I confirmed the will with the lawyer, and just as expected, it stated that all the inheritance would go to Janet. When my mother and Janet heard this, they both blamed me. A sneaky person like you could never run the company, my mother said. That's right. The company and all the money belong to me now. Janet added. She smirked and said, Too bad for you. You'll be poor from now on. She said this without even knowing how much a lawyer earns. Feeling disappointed, I left my parents' house. I knew I would probably never return. The house already had a neglected, empty feeling. I barely participated in my father's funeral and went straight back to work. One day, during work, I received a call from an unknown number. It wasn't from any client, so I ignored it. But I had a feeling I knew who it was, probably Janet. Later, Janet somehow got the main number of the law firm and called again. At that time, I was extremely busy, barely even having time to eat. Who could be calling at a time like this? I wondered as I answered the phone. The moment I picked up, I heard loud yelling. You knew about it, didn't you? Excuse me? Who is this? At least start with your name, I said. It's me, Janet. Janet? I don't know any Janet, I said, pretending not to recognize her. Shut up. You're so annoying, she screamed. So, what do you want? I'm busy, I said impatiently. You knew Dad had debts, right? What does that have to do with me? I asked. I'm running out of money. You need to take care of Dad's debts. I'm hanging up now. Deal with it yourself, I said coldly, and ended the call. After that, I told the office not to put through any more calls from Janet. Back in the hospital, my father had told me privately about his debts. Janet had always assumed she was inheriting $10 million, never imagining that she was also inheriting $12 million in debt. Most people don't realize that when you inherit an estate, you inherit the debts too, not just the money. But Janet was careless. She was too focused on getting rich and never even considered the possibility of debt. Maybe my father had tried to talk to her about it, but knowing Janet, she probably ignored everything except the part where she got money. She was truly pitiful, but I had no plans to help her. She and my mother could deal with the mess on their own. That was the only thing I had to say to her. I found out that Janet was living a terrible life. She kept borrowing more money just to pay off her old debts. Her financial situation was a mess, and her debt kept growing bigger and bigger. Looking at how lazy she had been all her life, I couldn't help but smirk. It wasn't that I enjoyed seeing her suffer, but after everything she had done to me, it felt like karma had finally caught up with her. I had no intention of helping her. This was the result of her own actions. Not long after, my mother also started calling me over and over, begging for money. Please help your mother. Even a little bit would make a difference, she cried. I was shocked by her request. How ridiculous. All these years, she only cared about Janet and ignored me completely. And now, when she's in trouble, she suddenly turns to me for help? I refused. I told my office not to transfer any calls from my parents' home, and I blocked both my mother and Janet's numbers on my phone. I even made sure calls from public phones wouldn't go through. But somehow they kept changing numbers and calling me repeatedly. It was as if they were standing on the edge of a cliff, screaming for help as they were about to fall. But I did nothing. In fact, it felt like I was saying goodbye and pushing them off the edge myself. I never thought that everything Janet had done to me over the years would come back to her like this. Later, I got more surprising news. Janet was being sued by former employees of my father's company. She hadn't paid their wages for 3 months. Clearly, her debts had trapped her, and now everything was falling apart. But then, something unexpected happened. The employees reached out to me. "Kelly, you are diligent and honest. You're the only one we can trust. Please do something about Janet," they said. I saw this as an opportunity. My father's company was important to him, and I couldn't let Janet ruin it. I took legal action and removed both Janet and my mother from the company. As we walked out of the courtroom, they screamed at me, calling me a traitor. Then they stormed off. After that, the employees asked me to temporarily take over as the company's president. At first, my plan was to find someone else for the position and continue my career as a lawyer. But then the employees said something that changed my mind. "We don't trust anyone but you, Kelly. You're the one who protected us. You're our leader." Hearing those words, I felt a sense of purpose. I had always liked manufacturing, but I never imagined I would actually take over my father's business. So, I made a big decision. I quit being a lawyer and became the president of my late father's company. I never expected to take over my father's business, but here I was. The workplace had a warm and welcoming atmosphere, and I felt comfortable there. The employees respected me because they had seen me learning from my father for years. Unlike Janet, who wasted her time on useless things, I had worked hard. The employees understood the difference between us, which is why they naturally trusted me. With time, I managed to grow the company. My knowledge of the law also helped, and the business ran smoothly without major problems. As a subcontractor for various companies, we continued to expand. The number of employees increased, so we decided to move to a bigger location. We also built a staff dormitory and improved employee benefits by adding more allowances. Because of these efforts, our company was even featured on local television as a great place to work. When asked about the key to success, I said, "Patience and effort are everything. If you keep working hard, results will naturally follow." I focused on developing our employees, which helped the company grow even more. Although I had enjoyed my work as a lawyer, I found even greater happiness in running the company. If I had given in to negativity and quit, I would probably be living a careless, unmotivated life, blaming others for my failures. I realized something important from watching my mother and sister. Complaining about life and speaking badly about others doesn't make anyone want to follow you. I didn't want to be like them. I just wanted to live honestly and do my best. But seeing how miserable my sister and mother had become, I knew I had made the right choice. Later, I became well known as a female CEO and even started dating someone I met through work. I had no idea what happened to my sister and mother. I had no desire to look for them or help them, especially after seeing how much their actions had hurt the employees. I knew they would probably never come back. After several years of dating, I got married. My husband was a talented young entrepreneur who successfully ran a small factory. We got along well, and we had a small but meaningful wedding that truly reflected who we were. The happiness I felt that day was greater than anything I had ever experienced. Not long after the wedding, I found out I was pregnant. We were expecting a baby boy. That alone was enough to make my life feel complete. Then, one day, as I was working in my office, an employee rushed in. "Excuse me, Rachel, President," they said breathlessly. Luckily, no one else was in the room at the time. The employee looked excited and nervous. "Janet is here," they announced. "What?" I said in shock. Now, holding my swollen belly, I wondered, why now? I stepped outside. There stood Janet, dressed poorly and looking dirty. "This company is mine, Kelly," she shouted threateningly. "With your messy appearance, you can't be the president. I should take over." Hearing this, some employees who had been listening threw water at Janet. These were the same employees she had refused to pay when she was in charge. "Get out," one of them shouted. "Kelly is our president. You are not fit to run this company. Just leave. You're nothing but trash." I was shocked. For so long, the only person I could rely on was my father. But now, I realized how many people truly supported and trusted me. "We'll take care of her, Rochelle, President. Please go back inside," one employee said. Janet suddenly changed her tone. "Kelly, please help me," she begged. But I had no sympathy left. Please leave. You're only causing trouble for everyone, I finally said. Then, I spoke the words I had held inside for so long. I truly hate you. Without looking back, I walked back into my office. I don't know what happened to Janet after that. Sometime later, I gave birth to a healthy baby boy. Everyone around me warmly congratulated me. Since I took over the company and focused on rebuilding it, I noticed a big change in the employees. People who used to work with sad, tired faces now smiled again. One day, an employee who had worked with my father came to me and said, "President Kelly, we all really love working here because of you." Hearing those words, my heart felt warm. For so long, even my own family never truly acknowledged me. But now, I was surrounded by colleagues who trusted and respected me. My heart was full of gratitude and happiness. "Thank you so much," I told them. "But this achievement isn't just mine. It was only possible because of the hard work and support of every single one of you." As I spoke, I remembered something my father once told me. "You can become stronger." Back then, I thought he was just encouraging me. But now, I realized his words had become my reality. The company was growing stronger, and I was ready to take it even further. One of my main goals was to create a better workplace for women. We improved our maternity leave policy and introduced flexible work schedules to make it easier for employees to balance work and family life. As part of our efforts to support working parents, we even set up an on-site daycare. These changes were noticed by many people, both inside and outside the company. Most importantly, our female employees deeply appreciated them. "Thank you, Rochelle President," they often said with smiles. At that moment, I knew I had finally created something truly meaningful. "I can keep working even after having children," one female employee told me with tears in her eyes. In that moment, I truly understood the importance of my role as president. Running the company wasn't just about keeping the business going. Seeing how our policies made a real difference in people's lives and helped them build a better future brought me incredible joy and a deep sense of responsibility. But my journey wasn't always easy. One day, an employee who had worked with my father came up to me and said, "President Kelly, we all really love working for you." Hearing that, I felt a warmth in my heart and was overwhelmed with emotion. For so long, I had never been recognized by my own family. But now I was trusted and appreciated by so many colleagues. It filled me with gratitude and happiness. "Thank you so much," I told them. "But this achievement isn't just mine. It was only possible because of the support and hard work of each and every one of you." As I spoke, I remembered my father's words, "You can become stronger." At the time, I thought he was just encouraging me. But now, I realized that his words had come true. The company was growing stronger, and I was thinking of new ways to improve it. I especially wanted to create a workplace where women could succeed. We introduced better maternity leave and flexible working hours so employees could balance work and family more easily. We also set up a daycare center to support working parents. These changes attracted attention both inside and outside the company, and our female employees deeply appreciated them. "Thank you, President," another employee told me, her voice shaking with emotion. "Because of you, I can keep my job even after having kids." Seeing how much this meant to her made me realize how much impact my work had. Being president was no longer just about keeping the company running. It was about changing lives. That gave me a deep sense of purpose. But my path wasn't always smooth. As a young female president, I often faced opposition. "Is it really okay for someone so young to be in charge?" some people whispered. "She'll probably give up soon," others said. I heard the criticism, but I never let it discourage me. No matter what people said, I was determined to prove them wrong. I never let the criticism bring me down. I stayed strong because my father had taught me the importance of perseverance. My own hard work and experiences also gave me the strength to keep going. One day, I received an unexpected call from the local Chamber of Commerce. "President Kelly, would you be willing to give a talk for us? We are running a program to support female entrepreneurs." The request was so sudden that I hesitated. I wasn't sure if I should accept. But as I thought about it more, I realized that my experiences could be valuable to women who wanted to start their own businesses. Feeling inspired, I decided to accept the invitation. On the day of the event, I walked into the venue and saw many women sitting in the audience, their faces full of anticipation. I took this chance to share my story honestly. I talked about my complicated family situation, the criticism and struggles I faced in society, and how I overcame each challenge. After my talk, a woman nervously approached me. "Actually, my family is against me starting a business," she admitted. "But after hearing your story, President Kelly, I've decided not to give up." Her words reminded me of my own struggles. "You'll be okay," I told her with a smile. "Treasure the people who support you, and keep believing in yourself." This simple advice, based on my own experiences, made me realize something important. Running a company wasn't my only role. I could also be a source of hope, especially for women facing difficulties. Over time, my efforts started to be recognized. One day, a large envelope was delivered to my office. Inside was a certificate of recognition from a local economic organization. The certificate read, "In recognition of your contributions to the regional economy as a female executive and for giving courage and hope to many people, especially women." As I read those words, tears filled my eyes. At that moment, I truly felt that if my father were watching from heaven, he would be proud of me.